Hello everyone. Welcome to this IEEE VIS panel. What do visualization art projects bring to the VIS community? I'm Xinhuan Shu from Newcastle University, and I'm one of the organizers of this panel, together with Yifang Wang from Northwestern University and Junxiu Tang from the Zhejiang University. And we are the organizers of this panel, and we are all deeply passionate about the visualization arts and have collaborated on several art projects over these years. Alongside our artist work, we are like early career researchers, so we actively submit papers to the main visualization research community. However, we are often sense a gap between our research and our love for the artistic side of visualization. So this feeling inspired us to organize this panel where we could explore how artistic data visualizations intersect and resonate with visualization research. And it's our great pleasure to have an incredible lineup of panelists joining our discussion. Each of them brings a wealth of experience and expertise from diverse backgrounds that span visualization research, media arts, and designs. So they have been deeply engaged in artistic practices for many years, enriching our conversation with unique perspectives. So welcome Pedro, Angus, Samuel, Riva, and Rebecca, and Wei Di. As you can see, we designed our panel under the theme of the puzzles. So as you probably noticed in the video or poster, and also you will see that throughout these slides. So these puzzle pieces symbolize the different roles in our visualization community. Like you could be a scientist, artist, designers, or just like an amateur. So sometimes they may just feel like separate pieces of our larger puzzle. But when they come together, they create some more harmonious and complete to our community. And we also created some physical puzzles that we had initially planned to distribute at the in-person conference. Unfortunately, we could not do that in this time, but here is a photo, just like give you a glimpse. So to kick off our panel, we see visualization has expanded beyond its traditional function of supporting scientific reasoning and sense making. Especially visualization art projects, they are pushing the boundaries using data and visualization, not just as tools for insight, but also as a medium for artistic expression. And these projects embody a strong point of view aiming to create art with visualization. As mentioned in yesterday's VIS app opening, I remember that Pedro said there is a significant rise in VIS app submissions this year. So we have seen like that this area has attracted lots of interest, and a broader, more diverse creators and audiences are joining this community. But also, like this app is not the only venue where we could see these creative art projects. Many other famous venues like SIGGRAPH Art Gallery, information is built for awards, data visualization society, and also so on. And they are becoming more visible everywhere to the public. At the same time, visualization art projects are not isolated from research. In fact, they could be deeply intertwined. For example, we are seeing some exciting collaboration between science and art in the visualization. For example, the paper from Offenhuber, Data by Proxy, Materials Traces as Autographic Visualizations. And I've also seen that he published a book about this topic and reflected on some of his artistic works he has done in the past in this paper. And this app also has its own paper check, like this paper, the right one, it has been published in the VIS app paper check, but it also has some like exhibition artworks. So we believe there should be some synergy between visualization research and art, And we want to like call for a collaboration between these like separate areas. So that comes back to our key theme of this panel to discuss the relations between visualization art projects and visualization research. So do you think the visualization art projects inspire visualization research or vice versa, sorry. So before we move to the specific question and the panel discussion, we just want to like give me a moment to introduce our amazing panelist. First, our first panelist is Pedro Cruz. Is an associate professor in the art and design department at Northeastern University. He's been the general chair of VIS App 2024 and has a background in information science and technology. His work focuses on nature-inspired metaphors to portray data and information through design. And the second one is Angus. Hope he will join later a bit. And he is an associate professor of interactive media and computer graphics in the computer graphics technology department at Purdue University. And he was the earlier general chair of VIS App during 2013 to 17. And he has supported the VIS App as a steering committee member until 2021. So he could share us more like valuable insights about the earlier VIS App practices and also his research experience in computational media art and graphics and visualization. And the third one is Samuel Hura. He is an associate professor in interaction design at the Social Science Department, Institut Polytechnique de Paris. His research focuses on new media, interaction design, physical representation of data, and social computing. In particular, he is investigating how humans create representation of data. And his recent book, Making with Data, Physical Design and Craft in a Data-Driven World, shares perspectives on artistic physicalization. And we also welcome Riva Wright, who is a senior lecturer in creative practice at Queensland University of Technology. So Riva is also a general chair of VIS App 2024, and she has been the exhibition chair of VIS App 2023. Riva is a media arts and computational design researcher with a collaborative and transdisciplinary practice, including exhibition, performance, publication, presentation, and community engagement. And we are expecting more insights from Riva about the perspective of modern art practice and also the non-Western background art practices. And the next one is Rebecca. Rebecca, she is a professor of computer art at the College of Visual and Performing Arts at Syracuse University. Her research interests include artistic data visualization, experimental animation, visual music, interactive installation, digital performance, and extended reality. She currently serves as the chair of the ACM SIGGRAPH Digital Art Committee and also IEEE VIS Art Program General Chair, and she is also the co-founder of the China VIS Conference Art Program. And the final one is Weidi Zhang. She is an assistant professor of immersive experience design at the Media and Immersive Experience Center at Arizona State University. She is a new media artist and designer. Her artworks has been exhibited at VIS App multiple times and recognized with international awards. Her research explores specific intersection of immersive media design, experimental data visualization, and interactive AI art. So we believe voices from the rising young artists could also provide some new points of views to this discussion. So let's thanks all for our panelists to join the discussion. Sorry. And here's the agenda for the panel. We will next dive straight into our discussion, guided by a set of thought-provoking questions. And we'll also wrap up by sharing insights we've gathered from the broader data art community, which we have reached out before the panel. And we also warmly invite all of our participants of this panel to join our discussion. And since you are here, I believe many of you share an interest in visualization art projects, whether as creators or audiences of visualization art projects. So we are eager to hear your thoughts and learn how perspectives vary across different groups. So if you consider yourself as authors of visualization art projects, you could scan this QR code, or like we will soon drop this link to the Discord channel, and you can copy paste to join the QA. And if you consider yourself more like audiences, you can scan this QR code as well. And if you have specific questions to ask, you can also use Slido to ask, and we will do a QA session as well. Yeah, so first question is that generally visualization research begins when data already exists, and we'll aim to reveal some patterns within the data. But how about the visualization art projects? How do you consider data in visualization art projects? And how do these art projects present data? So it would be better to hear from like your own experience and also some like project you could think of to reflect on this problem. Anyone who want to be the first?
Well,
maybe. Oh, sorry.
Pedro, you go ahead.
Sure. I was just, I was just thinking about going first because perhaps my approach to data is still pretty within the box. So basically, I work with data that represents phenomena, right? And so I don't do anything such as generating data as you are doing the project and then incorporating that into the project or generating the data itself. I mostly work with already assembled data sets or sometimes real time data sets, and the innovative component so far has been more on the rendering and visualization side of things. So how do I show and how do I display that data set, right? So yes, I just wanted to get that off our way because it's the most straightforward way to approach data.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm in similar way, though for me, I think data is a material. So as for my art, as artists, it depends on where the time you're in. You work with a different material. You work with oil. You work with clay. And we are in the digital age. So it's naturally data is a material for artists of today. And so my focus would be like of course, it's a representation of the data, but it's more considered like, so what is the data? So the data can be the data set. The data can be something, for example, for my visual music work. So the music become the data, and because everything embedded has the information in it, can be converted into data. Our senses, our feelings, brainwaves, and everyday life. There's just so many things. They're embedded, their information embedded. Then how to represent that for your audience, for the specific purpose of your project. I think that's the main issue for me. So to come back, data is material for me. So
yeah, good. We will ask every panelist to do the sharing, and we may see if we have some problems to follow up.
Can I follow up?
Yeah, sure.
So I think there is something that you said that was really interesting. You said in visualization, it's when data already exists. And there is a paper that we published last year at CHI that was like just tackling this point because when we did the Making with Data book, one of the things that we saw is there is a lot of visualizations that are made in the art world and also in other domains where the visualization is a mean for collecting data. And that was one thing that was really striking for me because, and this is also something that I really like about the relation between art and visualization. It's, I think, always art as a source of inspiration for learning and discovering new phenomena in visualization. And so yeah, if you want, there is this paper which is called Input Visualization, Collecting and Modifying Data with Visual Representation. And the things that was striking to me, it's I think maybe I can share my screen quickly.
Yeah.
Can I share it? Yeah, I don't know if you see my screen or not. No, okay. Okay, cool. No, it's good. There is this article that was inside the New York Times in 2011, actually. So it's not really an art piece, but it's like a journalist piece in a way, right? And the question is, they were trying to cover the death of Osama bin Laden, or the killing of Osama bin Laden, and they were wondering how to cover that. So they did this visualization where people can express what is their emotional response on a scale, negative from positive, and how much it's a turning point in the war on terror to kill Osama bin Laden. And people can click inside the space, and basically, by doing that, they were collecting data. So it's an example from like a journalist piece, but you have also this example from Rimini Protocol, which is like a theater piece that have been organized. The name of the piece is 100% City, and they have done this piece in like many different places. And inside this art piece, they are not starting always with only data points. They are asking people to express these data points on stage. And to me, this is one of the things that I find really interesting. I think I can stop sharing. I think arts and information visualization community doesn't always refer to the same epistemology when we are speaking about what data is. And I think maybe like having a list or studying like this different level of epistemology about what data and what is the quality of the data is something that might be really interesting.
Yes. I agree as well. Like this kind of approach gives more opportunities or ways we can deal with data. Yeah. And Widi, do you want to add something?
Yeah. I have some follow-up. So, for my artistic practice, I think data visualization or project is more about a process related to system making, and my process always started from collecting the unstructured information in the real world, and then transforming them into data and into cultural artifacts, and then presenting them as a composited reality, an interactive art experience for the participants to perceive, to interact with. And I got inspiration from Alberto Carroll's book, The Functional Arts, and he was the keynote speaker this year in IEEE VIS. And he said one of the ultimate goals for we as the communicators is to transform the unstructured information into the knowledge, audience's knowledge, and possibly the in-depth knowledge, which is the wisdom. So I think data visualization is more about a multidisciplinary process that blending like statistical, analytical skill sets, aesthetic skill sets, and also humanity fields like posing interesting, thought-provoking questions, and then transform the hidden patterns to unveil or reveal the hidden patterns behind the data sets and presenting them as a powerful storytelling process. So I see data visualization more as a medium for storytelling. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Great. And Riwa, if you want to add something.
Right. Yeah, I would. It's interesting because I think there's this link between aesthetics and data, which is actually very ancient. So, for example, if we think about paintings, cave paintings, for example, our, ancient Neanderthal ancestors painted the animals that they were hunting, and then they would leave the cave, and then others would come into the cave, and they'd be like, "Oh, there's bison in this area. Aha, there's deer in this area. These are what the stars look like outside at night," So there's this very ancient sense that aesthetics functions as data, as these records which are functional to society, which are valid for communities, which inform people about knowledge systems which they maybe can't directly access. So I think for me in my practice, it's important I think about these ancient connections with data. So that comes from my heritage. I'm one quarter New Zealand Māori from the north, and so we have a kind of strong connection with our landscape and with the physical environment. So that's how I kind of came to data, I suppose, like thinking about these more kind of like ancient connections with different knowledge systems. But I thought it was fascinating what Samuel was saying about the Bin Laden assassination, right? And how we have this kind of record of it from these data points, but we don't actually have any photographs of it, right? Because SEAL Team 6, when they went in to assassinate Bin Laden, they obviously had camera footage, but that's all private and protected, right? So it's not like the public actually has access to any aesthetics or imagery from that particular moment. But if you think about it, I was in a gallery recently and there was a painting of Judith beheading Holofernes, right? And in this sense, that painting functions like a record of an assassination, right? It's an aesthetic record of an event that happened. Therefore, it's functional data that enters society and becomes this sort of part of this knowledge system. So yeah, I think it's really fascinating, the link between aesthetics and data. What are aesthetics now that we have these data points have kind of intervened now that we have computational devices that calculate these data points? How has that changed our aesthetics?
Yeah, sure. I think data is like a more complex recipe in the art projects that we can deal with. Yes, and let me share the screen again. Okay. So the next question is closely related to some insights shared by Alberto in yesterday's VIS keynote. Like visualization research has some well-regarded design principles that we should promote data encoding accuracy and we should prioritize analytical effectiveness. But in visualization art project designs, do we consider these principles? And during your own design process, what criteria do you prioritize and why? And also, we are interested to know how you ensure that your audience could accurately perceive both the data and the ideas you want to convey. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, Samuel?
I don't know if it's really reply to the question, but I think to me there is something which is really fascinating in the relationship between art and visualization. I think so. First of all, I think one of the things in my own practice, it's art is used as an inspiration for science or designing visualization. But second, I think because art is way more free. So these guidelines are something that we are using in the visualization community, and they are great because they are useful. We need to know them and we need to challenge them also. But also, I think there is different commonalities and differences between arts on one side and visualization on the other side. So on the commonality, both are producing a representation of something, right? That can be data or that can be other things. On the differences, the representation aim to communicate different things, right? And the goal of the impact of this representation might be different. In visualization, it's aimed to communicate information and maybe get insight, while in arts, it's tend to discuss more in terms of aesthetic or hedonistic value, right? The second, and another part which is interesting is the similarity. Both have a pragmatic and an aesthetic component. Visualization have clearly an aesthetic component, as it was mentioned, but also art have a strong aesthetic component. Maybe the pragmatism behind art and visualization are not exactly the same way. And there is a difference. Visualization tend or try to be monosemic. So there is a way, right? A really clear encoding with a really clear legend and a really clear way to decode the encoding. While in art, it's polysemic by definition, right? And another similarity, they both tend to encode something graphically or physically inside a representation. So I think all of these aspects are quite interesting. The guidelines, they are constraining this aspect. So they are limiting the design space. And in art, we doesn't have this limitation by this constraint. So the design space is way bigger, way more vast, right? So to me, I like this guideline because they are useful to learn visualization, but I also think they can be considered really harmful. And this is where I think art is a good process for challenging this guideline all the time and trying also to explore new space, a new territory, a new area for visualization. That's my own feeling.
Yes, I really like your point. Like you can use this artwork to challenge the established principles, and also it could be a good way for like the novices, for some like newcomers. They should know that the principles not like they are useful at the first step, but they could be challenged and they could be some like improvement. Yeah.
I agree with what Samuel said, but I also want to add it to it. So let's say when I approach my artwork, there's actually two sides, two things I consider. One, how to represent data, and two, how my audience is gonna understand the data, understand my representation, right? So it's always, as artists, you always need to find the balance between those two. And art fundamentally is for self-expression, right? So that's my ultimate goal. But there is a communication side of the things. So how much I want to communicate this to? Do I want to communicate to the general audience, or do I want to communicate only to a specific group of people, right? So there's that. So if it's a project I wanted to communicate to very well trained data visualization individuals, then I would consider in their word how they like basically what's their literacy, right? How do they understand the visualization work? And I would interpret that. I would try to incorporate that into my design process, versus if the general audience, the general public, then my project would be more of the, you can get a general sense of it, but not necessarily you can understand the information to a great detail, right? So there's a, I think depend on the project, depend on the audience, depend on your purpose. And then that influence a lot of my design decisions. So.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm really interested. Sorry, maybe.
Yeah, I just want to follow up. I completely agree with Rebecca's ideas. I think experience design is very important for data visualization design, to think about the human-machine interactions and to think about who will be our targeted audience. So yeah, so if it's for the general public, then I always think about like how can I make my visual language more engaging and speak to the audiences from diverse culture backgrounds, and what kind of algorithm I will use to create this data-driven forms, data-driven materials. And I also agree that accuracy, data accuracy is definitely taken into account. And I think that's one of the foundations for me to create my visualization project. Yeah, thanks.
Right. I want to quickly add to that to Weidi's comment. I think for most of us, when representing data, because we use the data, at least for me, I use data as material, right? So the representation come from the data. That's accuracy. That's a given, right? It's always come from the data. It's based on the data. And but when we're talking about interpreting the data, the accuracy might not be as important thing as the representing aspect. So yeah.
Yes,
I
yes.
just want to add something along those lines. I do echo a lot of Rebecca's words when talking about the communicational nature of visualization, and perhaps depending on how you want to take this communication mission, how far you want to take it. That's perhaps what positions things perhaps more on the design side versus the art side. I personally, I like very much walking on thin ice, so always making things that are still considered traditional design by the established communities, but also something that tries to push things forward and innovate a little bit. One of the aspects that I like incorporating the most, and I think this intertwines here with the process and the communication aspect in visualizations, is to make them to integrate some sort of discovery process within the visualization itself, so that you get revelations in parts, and that you design that discovery process to be not necessarily to be linear, right? So it's exploration, right, and it's discovery as well. And I think visualizations are great because of that, because they take you into whatever they are representing, right? In that more immersive way. Engaging, that's the word.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super interesting actually hearing how everyone's dealing with data because we have similarities but also differences. I'm just going to, can I share my screen briefly?
Yeah, sure, sure.
Thanks. Yeah, so I have a project here I've been working on for a while, recording signals coming out of trees just using electrical sensors, at the base of the plant. And it creates this visualization here. So this is just the MIDI sequence, right? Once the electrical signals out of the plants are converted to MIDI. And you can see, it creates these really interesting patterns and waves. And, in that, do we know, is the data accurate? Yes, it's accurate. But then how do we interpret this data? Because it seems so scattered, so different, so completely atemporal, arrhythmic, so different from rhythmic data that comes out of, that humans create from human systems. So I became really interested, I suppose, for me in the design process and the art process. I've been really interested in these non-human organic systems for a while, and it becomes really challenging to think about how to represent that data in a way that does justice to the non-human. And I feel like I fail all the time because ultimately I end up creating these very humanistic looking representations of the data itself. So I'm showing you this to sort of highlight that it's coming from the aesthetic side. I think, as Samuel pointed out, art is very free, but design has particular constraints because you're thinking about applicability when you're thinking about design. But in art, we have the luxury that we can be free and expansive, and not everything has to resolve perfectly.
Yes, yes, sure.
Well, I want to add to that. I love Riva's work because I think art, there's one side we haven't talked about is the purpose of achieve the sublime, right? So when we the sense of greatness, the sense of awe, I think that's behind the motive of a lot of artists to create let's for lack of a better word, aesthetically pleasing, moving, provocative work. And because in some way it can touch the visceral sense of people. And so thus there's that's the value of such work. And sometimes you're moved by a certain artwork, data either generated from data or traditional artwork for no reason, because it click with a sense inside of you, a physical sense, even sometimes you're not aware. So there's that side into the play. I think so when artists are dealing with this type of work, that's my understanding is that's also in a way what I try to do to achieve the sublime when creating the artwork. So yeah.
Yes, I agree with your point. Yeah, we've noticed some questions in the Slido, but maybe we do a QA at the end. So yeah, and oh, let me share the.
Can I just jump a very position a very quick provocation to Riva. I want to hear why she says that the visualizations or the renderings that she just had are humanistic. Why did you classify them as such?
Yeah. So what happened was, it was funny. I was actually at a conference a couple of months ago in September, and the question that came up, right, was actually from the floor, and so I'll just quickly, sorry, I have to go back to my screen share to explain exactly what I'm meaning. So I showed this slide here, okay, which is the data that actually comes out of the plant signals. And then what I do with it is these signals generate these real-time animations. So I create these animations in Touch Designer. So each one of these strips that you see, these pattern strips, is a real-time animation, but it's actually generated from the plant signals. But of course, from the human side, I'm setting up the parameters. So I'm setting up the algorithm, the oscillators, the noise, the geometry, the color mapping and everything like that. And so the question from the floor, which really I didn't really have a good answer for at the time, was the guy said to me, but hang on, all you're doing is you're taking these signals coming out of the plants and you're just reframing it in your humanistic aesthetic. Yeah. So, and he said, but then how can you say that the plant is a co-composer or a co-companion in this process? Because really you are just framing it. And I thought that was an excellent point. And so it's definitely caused me to think a bit more philosophically about what I'm doing with my own practice. Yeah, so that's what I meant when I said humanistic.
Yeah, quite interesting. Yeah. Okay. So the next question is about the key theme of the panel. Like we want to ask, what do you think visualization art projects could contribute to the broader visualization community? And also, we are interested in knowing that how do you think your work has been inspired by some like art projects or inspired by some visualization research when you are designing your art projects? And do you think there are some like common share some like common properties during this process? Yeah, so anyone?
Well, maybe I can go first.
Yeah, sure.
Since I come from first a physics background, so first I started in engineering physics, then I went to informatics engineering. I didn't like the engineering component of each that much, but I really liked the algorithms. Now, what really inspired me in visualization, and this is coming from let's put it, established visualization language, or at least the visualization that is in the books and that passed through IEEE VIS. One of those things that really captivated me was cartograms, or more specifically ARIA cartograms, or even more specific, I think the algorithm is Kastner cartograms. So they have these very, so those cartograms, you can do it for population. So you have regions or countries on a map varying according with a statistical variable, right? And those Kastner cartograms, they had a very organic quality to it. Right. And because they were contiguous, right? They varied in bubbles. Okay, they look like bubbles. And I thought to myself, well, why are computer scientists doing these organic representations when it could be done in a much more straightforward way? I know that those cartograms, have been are nowadays not as popular as they were before. At least they're not popular with my students, but I'm still, very much fascinated by them. And that, for example, and edge bundling, when you use algorithms to pack edges, right? Again, you bring an organic component to the visualizations, right? Edges are not straight anymore. They are being curved and they're being kind of attracted to each other. Those are the two main approaches which I think are very creative, because they are about simulating systems in order to solve visual problems, right? Those are perhaps the inspirations that strike me the most, coming directly from visualization and computer graphics.
Well, what do visualization arts project contribute to the visualization community? For me, I think it's a sense of exploration, experimentation, and I think the visualization art projects show possibilities, right? So, and also it just, like a different way to represent the data, right? So visualization for me is it's about representation. And then that's why myself function between the visualization community and let's say the other more artistic data art community. And in fact, I don't think for myself, I don't distinguish those. So there's a broader spectrum, and many of us on this panel actually we shift from one side to another, right? So it's about a representation, and many of our experimentations in our artwork is try to see what other possibilities to communicate one set of information to our audience in a different way than what we generally expect, right? So that's one thing. And also another thing is I think visualization art project change people's perspectives, right? So it's not just the only perspective of how you represented the information, but also the bringing a broader, a diverse perspective into our life. Just like this year, diverse data is the theme of VSAP, and then our life. There's a variety of information available, and that associate to variety, to a diverse human experience. How do you represent that? And then I think that's what we try to do in VSAP this year, but also broadly for many of the art projects, we try to bring different perspective of the human experience into the visualization community. So.
Yeah. I really like your point of showing possibility of this app, and I think it really like makes some like inspiration and innovation for this visualizing art projects, that they do not like strictly follow some like academic academic like constraints, and they can do some exploration and make something like innovative. Yeah.
Maybe I can try to answer to this question. So, well, there is two way I can answer, a really personal way and like more general way. I don't know which one would be the best. Maybe yeah, from the personal way. So when we did the book like Making with Data, Physical Design and Craft in Data-Driven World with Tim Nagel, Laura Holberg, and Wesley Willett. So we wanted to make a book about all creator in the more generic sense, so artist, designer, researcher, are making physical representation of data, and what are their process, step by steps. And we started to try to, as scientists, we started to try to basically cluster them and make like some families or categories because I don't know, it's the thing that we are doing all the time, right? Just to be able to describe them a little bit better, right? So maybe I can share my screen quickly.
Yeah.
So yeah, can you see it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So inside this book, so I think the book is gathering like opinion for like many folks. I think like you have like ton of people, and mostly a lot of them are artists and designer. And when we did this classification, what we end up is having like these different categories. So which are different process of creating a physical representation of data and craft, participation, digital production, actuation, and environmental. And the funny thing is, while we were making this book, on the participation side, we have a lot of examples that are people that are like artists that are creating processes like Hans Acker, MoMAPOL. I don't know if you know this piece, but where they are gathering information in a way. They are using human to make like participants, they are using the audience to make the representation in a way, but not only to make the representation, but also sometimes to make the data. And it's funny because for me, it's like I was looking at all of these artists and designers, and I was like, wow, this is weird. This is something that we never describe in information visualization. Why is it like every time I'm doing an information visualization, I should start with the data. Like this is data driven, and I was like, maybe I can learn something. Maybe we can learn something from this approach, which is an artistic or designer approach, and look a little bit broader on people that are trying to do that, right? And actually, this is how we came up with this idea of input visualization. So it's like a little bit a story of all data arts, inspired like a new concept that we are trying to apply inside the information visualization community. And by doing that, we like we start to discover like I don't know, like at least 50 different type of visualizations that were having the same approach, that were asking people to input data in a representation and to make the representation through the approach. And it's a funny example, but it's not only my own. I think there is other scientists that have made work like that. If you think about even the term physicalization from Jensen and Dragicevic, they have this really nice gallery of example of a lot of some of these examples are data art, right? Some of these examples are data design. Some of these examples are from science, but like most of them are from art and design. And it's like kind of a really useful way to like try to gather all of these examples and try to start understanding what's have been done. And when it has been said, like just before, like using art as inspiration for visualization, this is one way, at least for me, like personally, it's happening. Well, that being said, I think information visualization is a design science. It's a really specific type of science comparing to natural sciences. In natural sciences, you are studying a pre-existing phenomenon, right? In biology or physics, you don't create the phenomenon yourself, right? While in visualization, there is always a creative or design parts, even if you are a scientist, because you are creating sometime the physical artifact through which you're gonna study how human will use this physical artifact, right? And this is what, like, I think Herbert Simons is calling like design sciences. And we are in this weird position as scientists and artists or designer, and like it's in a way in our research we are often creating artifact, and then we do science on this artifact, right? So this is a really peculiar position that I find interesting. And so, yeah, I don't know if it replied really well to the question, but that was like, to me, this is like kind of an interaction that is always happening all the time.
Yes. That's also like motivates us to like initiate this discussion, because sometimes we also feel things like that. We are doing something like back and forth, and we really want to, if we can find some like opportunities that we could combine them together, like you're doing the input visualization and also the visualization. We think it's a good like combination of these two like aspects. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super interesting. Actually, I'm going to order your the Making with Data book for my library at my university, because I think we need a copy of this here. What an incredible collection, actually, of artists and designers that you've amassed there. So comprehensive. And I think it's fascinating, this idea of, like that we do science on artifacts that we created ourselves, because that is really different, like from the biological sciences, the earth scientists, the chemical scientists, astrophysics, they're studying phenomena that already exist, that have a material existence outside of human life. Right. And we're studying it, trying to often understand how humans fit into this planetary ecology. We study the world around us using observational empirical techniques to work out this existential question: who are we? What are we doing here? How did we get here? Right. We're trying to solve the mysteries of ourselves as an artifact, I suppose, in a way. So yeah, super fascinating stuff. I have to apologize because I've got to go and chair a paper session. Pedro left already, so I have to follow. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for a fascinating conversation. And I might reach out by email to some of you over the coming weeks. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Yeah. See you. Yeah. And I also see a question inside of that want to ask Samuel, like, what is the difference between the data visualization as data art or data design and the science?
Well, that's a good question. So, well, well, I guess like I didn't make that many definitions, but inside the book, I can also share again my screen. But to me, data art is basically every type of art that will say it's data art. That's an easy way to reply. I think data physicalization have been defined by Johnson and Dragicevic as a way to represent data while you are encoding data through physical property instead of visual property alone. But when we did the book, we end up with like seeing like multiple definition of that, because actually they provide this definition, but we saw like, I don't know, I can share the screen on that. We have this page inside the book, and actually I think there is an error inside the page, but we were collecting like different approach, because we find like many definition of people that have different text. So there is a data visualization approach, which seems like totally like everybody knows this definition. It's from Stuttgart, like the use of computer supported interactive visual representation of abstract data to amplify connection, right? Everybody knows this one in the computer science world, actually, but not in the graphic design world. Like, because also one of the things which is fascinating is visualization is a domain where there is like so many different communities, right? arts, graphic design, information design, cartography, computer science. It's like at the intersection of all of these domains. Then you had this one about data certification. So all of the definitions that are on this side, they are trying to provide the definitions that are focused on sense. All the definitions on this side are definitions that are focused on artifact, and this one on process. So you mentioned, I think, Dietmar Offenberg before, right? And you have this really interesting definition about autographic. So it's a set of techniques for revealing material phenomena as visible trace and guiding their interpretation. One of the things that is interesting is all of this definition, in a way, they are overlapping. So it's like it's not like they are not mutually exclusive, right? Yeah, that's so. I don't know. Some people are using this notion of data sculpture. The use of computer-supported interactive visual representation. Oh no, that's an error. This is where I have an error in the book. I'm sorry. But then the data physics. So the data sculpture is more towards the art side of visualization, because it doesn't have to have basically a mapping that's representing directly the data through physical artifact. It's also could be through like a metaphor or any type of other type of mapping that will not be direct between the data and the representation.
Yeah. Sure. Woody, do you want to add something?
Yeah, so I think I really agree with everybody saying, like, back to your question, the IEEE VSAP, I think it really pushed the boundaries of the multiple disciplines. And also, I think innovation, a lot of times it exists in the multiple, like multidisciplinary research fields. So it's definitely, data visualization is at the research at the intersection of art, science, design, technology. So I think VSAP definitely a great platform to foster this collaborative opportunities and also innovative opportunities that push the boundaries. And I really enjoy like creating the experimental visualization projects. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, let's go to our last question. So we are thinking about like what role we are thinking about the VSAP, like what kind of role do like especially as the VSAP chairs or like the like active participant like us. So like what role does VSAP play within the IEEE VIS conference, and also what can it do beyond that? And also we are thinking if we should like expand VSAP's visibility and impact moving forward, because like as mentioned that this year we have lots of like submissions, but we can only have like a limited number of the art pieces to be exhibited. So we're also thinking if it's the time that we should expand this activity. And we're also hearing some of the discussion around the cost of the VSAP event. It might be the like in the top list of the costed event in IEEE. So yeah, we are thinking of the role of VSAP and also how can we make it better to attract more people and expand its visibility.
Well, my involvement with the VSAP starts from being artist to present artwork and then become a reviewer and then become an exhibition chair and then become the chair. And I do so, I think I have a good understanding of what this program is about and where we position ourselves within the VIS, especially IEEE VIS community, which is to bring the, like we discussed earlier, bring the exploration, bring the different or innovative, many times innovative approach to the visualization community. And VSAP has been enjoy great support from IEEE VIS. and particularly this year with everything going on. So we really appreciate the support. And there's some discussion in terms of if VSAP should stay with as an associate event or become a part of VIS conference. So there's pros and cons. So to that approach, and we are trying to figure that out. I think we still do. As a founder of China VIS arts program, and so the China VIS arts program is completely integrated within the China VIS conference. So with that part, the artist designer has a greater involvement with the conference, the running of the conference, the organization perspective more, and as well as the subject matter. So there's a greater integration between the artist, designer, the scientist, everybody involved in the VIS community versus currently with the VIS, the VSAP is still operate under associate event, which give us more freedom in terms of exhibition setup, how we run the content, basically the content of the program. But sometimes we do feel we need a greater integration with the VIS community. So moving forward, that would be one aspect I think, for the VSAP community to think about how to integrate with the VIS community more, how to involve the scientists more. I think we're doing a good job, but we could do a better job. So as you point out, there are scientists work showing at a VSAP program every year almost, right? And so there are conversations happen between multiple community within the VIS community. But we definitely can how to see it, do better job in terms of that direction. Another thing I want to point out would be to see if we can work with other community who are dealing with similar issues, such as the couple of venues you mentioned at the beginning, SIGGRAPH, right? SM SIGGRAPH, Info Plus, and information is beautiful. So all those other things, more collaboration can happen there. I think that's another possibility. So.
Yes. It's great. Like we can hear direct feedback from the VSAP organizers, and we are knowing much more better about VSAP. Yeah. And
so I've been exposed at VSAP. I think it was 2012. I've been exhibition chair in 2016 or so. And I think VSAP is really is a very vibrant part of this. It's really a moment where, at first I think it's really important because there is this VSAP party, which is always a moment where you can have exchange between artists and scientists. And to me, this has this role of in a way, right, where you can have some discussions that might not happen in the rest of the conference. And there is this space where you have a lot of space for experimentation, and I think it's so I didn't know that there is some discussion about making it a solo event happening, but I think even if at one point VSAP grow and start to be his own event, I think it will be really important to keep a VSAP satellite inside the VIS inside the VIS world, because I think it's so important. Yeah, to me, I think it's bring many aspects. It's bring a moment where you can expose. So that's the first place in VIS where there is exposition. There is no other place, but there is no demo session at VIS, right? So it's the only place where there is an exhibition at VIS. It's a place where you can be inspired. I think there is a lot of moment, I had a lot of discussion during many years of people saying, "Oh, I've been so much inspired by this piece," and then blah blah blah, and then another project starts. So it's it's also like I think it's a moment where it's a bit probably a bit less serious than the paper presentation. So there is also the tracks that are like interesting and serious, but I think like all this space of this exhibition and this party, I think it's a place for emotion. It's a place where you dedicate a moment and a space for emotion of people or even pieces that are here for provoking emotion, and not only rational and pragmatic aspect. And this is a really important component of VIS, I think. So I really like VIS. I don't know what will happen in the future, but
Yeah, sure.
Well, just Samuel, just to correct that. So right now, VSAP is actually associate event, and so there was discussion try to make a VSAP officially part of this the VIS conference. So that's yeah. So it's the other way around.
oh, cool. So it's a better integration inside.
Right. Though there were some reservations from the VSAP community, both from the steering committee and also from the I think last year's committee. And so it's a discussion to be well. I would say it's ongoing discussion there. So
Okay, excellent.
Sorry, due to the time limit, I maybe go to the closing part, but and sorry, maybe we can have discussion on Discord and later. Yeah, and oh, sorry, before closing, just have one question inside, like maybe some of you could quickly respond to it. Like speaking of literacy, do you think visualization art projects can have the same level of accessibility as a formal visualization process?
well, I don't think it's the same level of accessibility, but rather it's we look at the accessibility from a very different angle. So it's arts project, visualization arts project has a unique role in, for example, educate the general public about information, right? So in that case, then what accessibility means? So the accessibility means different things than when you're looking at let's say more accurate data visualization project. So I don't think it's the same level, but it's a different type of accessibility.
Yeah, and from different angles. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So about the closing, we just want to so first of all, many thanks for all of your like insightful discussions, and we really learn a lot from the panel. And before we end, we just like do reach out to some designers and artists from like the broader data art community, and we want to share like their experience on this like data art, and also their thoughts about how we could like bring the whole community together. Yeah, and
I'm Daria, and I started my career as an editorial designer and illustrator, and now I'm on the intersection
oh, sorry.
of art, design, and management. We have a fantastic team of people with a lot of different backgrounds. Design team, and we have scientific team. Some people from the scientific team also contribute to the design part. We have people from background in computer science or in physics, obviously in network science. People like me who have not a scientific background, but more of the artistic background. We have the research part, and we have design and art part, and I can speak of the art part more as I'm on this side. And I think that what we do is we work in the medium of data art, and this more results in an exhibitions because we use the existing research, existing papers to create our art. So we always base our art on data. I really like the IAVs. I like SIGGRAPH. I like data through design. I like Information is Beautiful. I like Data VIS Society and Art Grants. This is, for me, places where I want to send my work, but it's not places where I usually share my work. Because it takes time to prepare particular project. I assume that it would take a lot of time and effort to create this project just to showcase it. So this is always a separate big work that you do. And we have a lot of things going on in the lab. And so I'm now concentrated more to put effort into the exhibitions that we have and some personal projects that I do. And then when they're converged, I will show them on these conferences. I'm dark.
Yeah, and also we invite Amy Cizel, who is from the Data Visualization Society, DVS, and who is also the organizer of Outlier and
I think Information is Beautiful Awards is great, and it's more than just data art. There's even a business intelligence category now. Since Data Viz Society has taken it over, it's really geared to be more data viz in general, not just beautiful data art, although I still love the unique category, which is, and as part of like Data Viz Society, we've tried to do that. And that was one of my big goals in starting DVS, is that it was a lot more fractured. And one of the first things I did was like put together a resources page that was just like spreadsheets of different things, like spreadsheets of different school programs or Data Viz style guides or like podcasts that were going on, because it was really fragmented all over the internet, and you sort of had to like hunt and peck and know what to look for, because people were doing things, but they were doing them not in a way that was like telling other people all the time. And so DVS now has a calendar of community events that are going on. And that goes in their email newsletter to all members every month. And so I think that that is a great way to connect some of these things, is just to like have one place in the community where all of these things are more accessible, and you can sort of dive down those different rabbit holes or seek out different information that you might not know. I know for DVS members, there's a discount code for IEEE this year. So trying to get more cross-pollination between those communities, trying to get people to go to like more of a research conference event than just the practitioner events.
Yeah. So thank you all for the input of this panel, and we just want to say, like, when we initiate the organization of this panel, we are thinking that the art and the science in the visualization should not be like a separate way we could do in this field. And it's not like you are purely a scientist or purely like an artist. They are all part of the same journey of discovery in this field. And we are thinking maybe like consider the area models in the research in the main research conference. Maybe we also should like add an area for art that we could encourage the community to do more artistic and creative exploration on this part. Yes, sure. So thank you all for coming our discussion today, and we're about to end the time, and see you next time, and hope to keep the connection during the Discord and emails. Thank you all.
A quick advertisement. The following this 10:15, we actually have a VSAP paper presentation. So we have a 4 fabulous paper. Please do join us.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the advertisement. Bye-bye.